What if the serpent you were told to fear was the very key to your liberation? The stories, the warnings, they were never neutral. They were designed, crafted not to protect you, but to protect them. The gatekeepers, the architects of a world built to keep you small, to make you forget. Because if you ever remembered, truly remembered what lives inside your spine, the illusion would collapse. If you've always felt you were meant for something more, it's not just you. That restlessness, that dissonance, it's not a flaw, it's a signal. A frequency mismatch between who you truly are and the reality you were told to accept. Your discomfort is sacred. It is proof that you are still awake. They taught you to fear the unknown, to distrust your own body, to suppress your feelings, to obey without question. But what if everything you were told was true, was built on a false premise? The truth is not hidden. It's encoded within you, buried beneath layers of programming, fear, dogma. It's time to remember. They call it Kundalini. Others call it the serpent fire, the divine spark, the coiled dragon. But beyond names, it is energy, not metaphorical, not symbolic, real, intelligent, quantum. And they were terrified you'd find it. Because when it rises, so do you. Religion painted it as temptation. Education ignored it completely. Medicine feared it. And culture reduced it to myth. Why? Because a human fully aligned with that energy cannot be controlled. The system wants you asleep. Awakening is rebellion. You were never meant to be obedient. You were meant to be sovereign, fully embodied, fully present. And when you are, no system survives your gaze. You were taught duality, right versus wrong, light versus dark, spirit versus flesh. But truth is vibrational, not binary. Your soul doesn't operate in categories, it operates in resonance. And Kundalini is resonance. It is not something you earn, not something you chase. It's something you remember. It's already inside you, coiled, waiting, listening. Your spine is not just a structure. It's a conduit, an antenna for consciousness. Every breath, every intention sends a signal up and down this axis. Every fear blocks it. Every awareness liberates it. Your DNA is a fractal antenna. Kundalini is the frequency that unlocks your true signal. And when that signal is clear, reality bends. Not because you wish it to, but because consciousness shapes the field. The observer effect is not philosophy, it is law. Reality mirrors energy, not intention. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And if your energy is fragmented, buried in trauma, guilt, shame, then so is your timeline, misaligned, fractured, looped. But when awareness returns to the body, when the sacred fire is felt again, timelines shift. You don't jump timelines by thinking differently. You jump timelines by being different. Breath, intention, frequency, alignment. This is not mysticism. It is mechanics. The system never taught you this because the system is not designed for liberation. It is designed for repetition, for hierarchy, for obedience. But Kundalini doesn't follow orders. It only follows truth. And when it awakens, you no longer seek truth. You become it. You are not broken. You are misaligned. This world has made you believe that pain is weakness, that disconnection is normal, that numbness is survival. But what if I told you the pain was never your enemy? What if it was the signal, the alarm that your energy was never meant to be this compressed, this divided? The awakening of Kundalini is not a moment, it's a shift, not of belief, but of frequency. It is not about becoming something else. It's about remembering what you've always been. Before they named you shamed, you tamed you. You were pure current, coherent light, a vibrational intelligence housed in a vessel of water and fire. But they covered your light with layers, layers of should, of must, of don't you dare. They taught you that truth was outside of you in the scripture, in the science, in the system. But the oldest script is written in your nervous system. And that serpent, the one they said would lead you astray, has been curled at the base of your spine, waiting for your signal to rise. It doesn't rise through effort. It rises through permission. You see, energy doesn't need permission from the world. It needs permission from you. When you breathe with awareness, when you release what's not yours, when you stop pretending to be what you were told to be, you become conductive. You become resonant. You become whole. And then the shift begins. The fire stirs, not a flame that burns, but a frequency that reveals. It ascends not just through your spine, but through your stories, your memories, your false identities. It burns through illusion. And when it reaches your crown, it's not a high, it's a homecoming. You don't ascend to escape, you rise to integrate. You rise to become the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Kundalini is not about power, it's about coherence. When it flows, you don't need to prove anything. Your presence is the proof. Your frequency is the evidence. Others feel it. They may not understand it, but they feel it, because vibrational truth doesn't need translation. It just is. And yes, it will scare some, not because you are dangerous, but because your alignment threatens their illusion. The system was built for misaligned beings because only misaligned beings seek validation from broken structures. But once you awaken, once the current flows clearly, the search ends. Not because you found all the answers, but because you became the question. And in that question you are free. Freedom is not the absence of boundaries. It is the presence of inner authority. When Kundalini moves, the external rules don't disappear. They just lose relevance, because the true compass has been restored. The intelligence of the body, the knowing of the soul, the silent alignment that doesn't ask. It is. You stop outsourcing your truth. You stop looking for mirrors to tell you who you are, because now reality mirrors you. Not your thoughts, not your words, your state. The quantum field is listening, not to your desires, but to your signature. Your frequency is your command. And most people don't realize they're speaking noise. They want love, but vibrate fear. They want expansion, but emit guilt. They want truth, but live behind masks. You can't fool the field. The universe doesn't negotiate. It mirrors. So what happens when you finally align? You no longer need to manifest. You transmit. And that transmission, that coherence, is what shifts timelines. You leave behind old loops, not because they're bad, but because they no longer match. You begin to see people, places, and patterns fall away effortlessly. Not in drama, in silence, in resonance. And what comes to you isn't new. It's familiar, ancient, as if it's been waiting for you. Because it has. You didn't miss the path. You are the path. You didn't lose time. You were gathering charge. Every trauma, every contraction, every fall was part of the coiling, part of the compression needed for ignition. You see, the Kundalini serpent coils for a reason. Compression precedes release. Tension precedes transformation. So, if you feel you're in the tightest part now, good. It means the current is ready. The breakdown is not failure. It's voltage. It's the tremor before the rise. And when it rises, not gently but truthfully, you remember. Not a memory of this life, but the memory beneath all lifetimes, the memory of being source in form. That's why you cry. That's why you tremble. Not because you're broken, but because you've never held this much truth in your body before. You don't raise Kundalini. You become the frequency that calls it forward. And once it moves, nothing is ever the same. Some truths cannot be spoken in words. They must be felt in your spine. The language of Kundalini is not verbal. It's electrical. A trembling hum that moves through the body, through timelines, through dimensions. It doesn't explain. It activates. And once activated, you begin to see the world as it truly is, not a place of random events and accidental pain, but a perfect mirror of vibrational law. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what frequency created this reflection? This is sovereignty. Not as a concept, as a vibration. You become responsible not because you're at fault, but because you remember you're the field. You remember you're the signal. You remember you're the source. No more waiting for signs. You are the sign. And when you walk through the world in this remembrance, people feel it. Some are drawn. Some recoil. Not because of you, but because of their own readiness. Your presence becomes a test, a frequency check. You no longer have to preach. You simply radiate. Because truth doesn't need convincing. It only needs embodiment. And this is what Kundalini demands: not belief, but embodiment. Not theory, but transmission. You can't fake coherence. The spine knows. The field knows. And if you're still watching, still listening, it means something ancient within you is waking up. Not because of these words, but because the resonance is familiar. Maybe it's always been there. Maybe the fire's been flickering just beneath your awareness, waiting for a moment of silence, of surrender, of presence. And now, here you are. This is not the end, it's the ignition point. From this moment on, the world won't feel the same. It can't, because you've seen too much, felt too much, remembered too much. So take a breath. Feel the spine, not as bone, but as channel. Not as structure, but as sacred instrument. And ask, not for the energy to rise, but for the courage to meet it. It's already there, coiled, waiting, listening. You don't need more knowledge. You need permission, yours. Because awakening isn't a gift, it's a return. And the return begins now. What if your suffering is not a symptom, but a signal? What if the ache in your chest, the numbness in your days, the quiet whisper at 3 a.m. isn't a flaw in your chemistry, but a flare in your soul? You've been told you're broken, that you need fixing, healing, adjusting to fit a world that feels fundamentally off. But what if that world is the problem? What if your misalignment is proof that you were never meant to fit into a dream someone else designed? Everything you've been told about who you are is a beautifully crafted illusion. And the illusion was never yours. You were handed a name, a nationality, a gender, a history. You were given beliefs before you had language. Systems were stitched into your nervous system long before you could ask why. And now, here you are, waking up in the middle of the programming, wondering why it all feels off. You're not imagining it. If you feel it, it's not just you. Something ancient in you remembers. Something wild. Something infinite. Something the system worked very hard to bury. But the burial was never perfect. There were cracks. There were moments. There were signs. And now, you're listening. Good. Because here's the thing. The system was never meant to free you. It was designed to keep you small. Every institution, you were taught to revere education, religion, government. Even modern medicine operates on the same hidden frequency: fear, lack, guilt, obedience. They don't teach you how to feel. They teach you how to suppress. They don't show you how to listen within. They teach you how to outsource truth to authority, to doctrine, to screens. They don't tell you that you're made of energy. They tell you that you're made of sin, flesh, biology, something disposable, something accidental. But you were never accidental. You are not a name. You are not a label. You are not a diagnosis. You are not broken. You are misaligned. And the reason you suffer is because your essence is vibrating out of sync with the lie you were told to live. So let's tear it down. Let's peel back the veil. You see, this isn't just spiritual, it's quantum. Your body is a field of vibrating particles. Your thoughts are not random. They're waves of resonance pulsing through the quantum field. Your emotions aren't chemical accidents. They're vibrational truths trying to align you with what's real. You're not a personality. You're a frequency. And when that frequency begins to rise, when your energetic blueprint starts to override the old programming, the system calls it a crisis. But it's not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. Kundalini is not a metaphor. It's not some exotic myth. It's a code, a mechanism, a divine intelligence sleeping at the base of your spine waiting for you to remember the original signal. And when it stirs, when it moves, it doesn't ask for permission. You may tremble, you may cry, you may lose your job, your relationships, your appetite for normalcy. But you will gain everything the system was afraid you'd find yourself. Prana life force is not just energy, it's memory. It's the memory of what you are beneath the programming. And as this life force awakens, the false layers fall away. You may begin to notice time warping. Hours stretch, minutes collapse. You may hear the hum of silence differently. You may sense the emotions of others as if they were your own. You may dream vividly or not at all. The veil is thinning. And no, you're not crazy. You are collapsing timelines. You are tuning into the quantum field. You are beginning to witness the observer effect, where what you observe begins to shift under the weight of your attention. Reality doesn't respond to desire. It responds to frequency. And your frequency is rising. But it doesn't feel like bliss, not at first. Because before the truth liberates, it destabilizes. Your nervous system may short-circuit. Your ego may fight to survive. Your inner child may scream for safety. All of it part of the burn. Because awakening is not gentle. It's not romantic. It's not a mood. It's a demolition. And only from the ashes does something real begin to emerge. If your body shakes, your mind breaks, your emotions collapse. It's working. You are not breaking down. You are breaking free. Good. You're still here. That means the code is already unlocking. Let's go deeper. Because the more you remember, the more reality begins to shift. Not in theory, not in metaphor, in frequency. You may have noticed the signs quiet, unexplainable, yet undeniable. That pulse of heat rising through your spine like liquid electricity. The trembling of your limbs unprovoked, uninvited. The sudden tears that come from nowhere. The knowing that doesn't come from thought, but from some place beneath thought. The world will tell you it's trauma, a chemical imbalance, a psychosomatic glitch. But the world is afraid of what you're becoming. Because when Kundalini awakens, it doesn't just move energy, it reconfigures identity. The stories you clung to, begin to fall apart. The people who once felt familiar begin to feel foreign. Even your own voice, your own reflection, begins to shimmer with something unrecognizable. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding the self that was never yours. And in that shedding, something ancient rises. Light, not from above, but from within. You begin to perceive more than you see. You begin to feel timelines overlapping. You begin to sense that you are not the one inside time, but the one witnessing time. And time starts to listen back. Hours pass in minutes, or minutes stretch like lifetimes. You're no longer anchored in the artificial rhythm of clocks. You're moving in resonance with something else, something truer, something cosmic. And in that state, synchronicities become constant. 111, 222, 333. Patterns in license plates, timestamps, receipts, thoughts echoed back in the words of strangers. This isn't coincidence. It's coherence. The field is talking to you. Because reality doesn't negotiate. It mirrors. As your frequency shifts, so does your reflection. And yet, the more you awaken, the more alone you might feel. Because those around you, those still living from mind, not from field, they won't understand. They'll say you've changed, that you've grown distant, that you're being dramatic or delusional. But the truth is, you've exited their timeline. And you can't explain to someone asleep what it feels like to finally open your eyes. That doesn't mean you're above them. It just means you're no longer operating from the same algorithm. You are beginning to remember that your intuition was never just a feeling. It was a quantum compass. You're beginning to crave stillness not because you're broken, but because your nervous system is recalibrating to a new signal. You're drawn to solitude, not to isolate, but to synchronize. You stop chasing love validation answers because you've realized they were never out there to begin with. And perhaps most powerfully, you begin to sense something sacred inside your very body. That the spine is not a column, it's a conduit. That the tingling at the crown is not random, it's signal reception. That the pulsing behind your forehead is the pineal gate beginning to open. None of this is new. It's older than memory, older than language. The yogis knew. The mystics knew. The sages of Kemet, the oracles of Delphi, the seers of forgotten timelines, they all spoke of it. But the system silenced them. Because awakened humans don't obey. They don't consume from lack. They don't fear death. They don't seek permission. They resonate. And the system can't control resonance. That's why it taught you to fear your own power. But fear was the final gate. And now you're walking through. And as you walk through that gate, you begin to notice the silence. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of stillness. A different kind of awareness.